The Noise Killers.
Is like computing. So if you don't let me know, then I mean we'll have to go back over a lesson on what is this. So, what is the Shabbat?
Sabbath.
All right, it means Sabbath. What is it though?
They're separating the house of the church.
Right. For what purpose? So 4 people got it. Okay, what is the Sabbath for?
Rest.
What is the Sabbath for?
Rest.
All right, what are we resting from?
Work.
Got it. Now, are we truly resting? Like, raise your hand if you got in your car and you drove here, or you rode here, right?
No.
I said drove or rode. Drove or rode. Rode? Okay, put your hand. Car riders, raise your hand if you rode. In other words, someone else drove. Okay, hands down. If you drove, raise your hand. All right. So that's work. Some people actually do that for a living, driving, right?
I need a check.
Right. Music in and of itself is work. It is. Some people do it for a living. So are we 100% completely resting? No.
The land of our captivity.
But we are in the land of our captivity. And the scriptures talk about that when we enter into that Sabbath rest, that there will come a time when no man has to say no to Most High.
That's right.
Right? Because the whole system will be set up to know that. And in that time, we will rest. Right? Because you won't have to have Moshe declared every Sabbath day as the disciples talked about in the book of Acts. Because it'll be completely written in you. It'll be essentially encoded in you. Right? And so, with that being said, I guess one example, a way to look at that would be how Joshua, right, Yeshua, when they got ready to enter into the promised land. So we're leaving the book of Devarim. Devarim means what?
Deuteronomy.
All right. It's translated as what?
Deuteronomy.
But what does it mean?
Word.
It means the words. So, as we leave the words into Yah's salvation, right, or the book of Joshua, what we see is they're entering into the land, but are they able to rest? I see some blank faces, some people don't know. Okay. No. No, they were not able to rest when they entered the land. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. They were actually given instruction. What was the instruction? Right. You don't enter into the rest until you take the land. Till you literally possess it. And so, right, until all your brothers are in the part where they're supposed to be. So Judah gets in position, boom, we got our land. Do they get to rest? No. They got to help Benjamin. They got to help Levi. They got to help Simeon. They got to help everybody else get what they're supposed to get. And then there was some tribes that were on the other side, but they still were responsible for crossing over the Jordan River, helping their brothers get their portion, and then they would go back home, which is interesting perspective, because then that paints the picture of what it talks about going the extra mile, right? If your brother asks you to go a mile with them, go 2, right? That's a clear picture of what that looks like, even coming literally out of the Torah and into the land. And so that is our responsibility. Right now, that's what we're doing. We're going in and we're taking back the very thing that was taken from us, which was our heritage in so many ways. And what a beautiful thing it is to be able to gather on the Shabbat, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together with the brethren, because the Shabbat is a what?
Holy convocation.
It 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 is a holy convocation. It is a Kodesh Mikra. Now, where does it say that the Sabbath day is a holy convocation? We can say stuff, and somebody could perceive that to be a programmed response. So the question is, where is that found so we know?
Right before he talks about the 7.
Say it again.
It's the first one he talks about when he starts to mention the 7 set apart Moab.
Right. Where is it found? Nope.
Leviticus 23.
Exodus.
Say it again. It's in Wa'ikra or Leviticus.
You got it.
It is in there. It's chapter 23?
And 3, verse.
Say it again.
Verse 3, 2. 23, 3.
All right. Read it real loud for us.
6 days. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is a Sabbath of rest, a holy convocation.
Okay. So the Sabbath day, or how we observe it, right, is a holy convocation, a Sabbath of rest. Holy, the word for holy in Hebrew is what? Kodesh. And the word for convocation in Hebrew is what? It's mikra. What does Kodesh mean? All right, it ultimately means to be set apart, right? What does mikra mean?
Called out. Right? Something called out. A public meeting.
Okay,
That is a rehearsal, assembly.
sure. It points back to an appointed time, which is something that's called out, is a sacred assembly, is everything that you labeled off. But when you break down the letters, it points back to this is the way, the mem, right? This is the way that connects us to the Most High, right? By observing the very feast that he tells us to do, or any set apart day. It is something that connects us to him, right? And so the evidence of that would be what? During the feast days, there are times where people say, man, this happened, that happened, or I don't know, is this something in the atmosphere or whatever, right? So there are times where during the feast days, the Most High will come and visit amongst his people. Not to say he won't do that any other day, but there's something about obedience, right? Something about obedience. I can tell my daughters, I chill with them anytime I come home from work, and I pretty much get good and ready. But if I told them, hey, at 7 p.m. on the 2nd day of the week, I need you to be ready, dressed with shoes on at the door. I'm gonna take you somewhere, right? That means now we have a set apart time where I'm doing something specifically with them. So to treat that like something else would be disobedience, right? To treat that like the instructions, to treat the instructions like it's just any old whatever, then that's disrespectful toward the Most High. Not only is it disrespectful, but it shows or demonstrates that you're not as connected as you thought you were. Because see, obedience is very simple. Here, do this, you do that thing that was told to you to do. But when you choose, when you make a decision to not do the very thing that the Most High has instructed you to do, well, that, again, that is a clear indication you might not be as, what's that word, holy, kodesh, set apart as you think. You might be a little closer to the world than you think. And so we have to do our due diligence to make sure that we show the Most High the utmost respect in being obedient because he deserves it, right? So over the past couple weeks, we've been studying some things. What have we been studying? We've been studying worship, right? We broke up into groups. We broke some things down, right? We talked about lifting up our hands, right? And what that symbolizes. What is the picture we get when we lift our hands? All right, it's a form of reverence, right? What else? Surrendering or submission, right? Right? So by lifting up our hands toward the Most High, right, that would be a form of presenting yourself, saying, hey, I'm surrendering, right? Something else we talked about was bowing down, right? Bowing down. What does this project? Humility. No, it's not prostration. Right? Submission, humility, right? Now, if my wife was like, that's it, I'm tired of this, I'm out, right? And I ran up on my wife and was like, baby, please don't go, right? All of a sudden, we don't see nothing wrong with that. But then when we come before the Most High, all of a sudden, sometimes for some people, we're more concerned about what everybody else thinks and what everybody else has to say about you and your moment with the Most High, collectively, corporately. And there's nothing wrong with this, right? So what about this? What is this?
Prostrate.
All right, what's the significance in this?
Total submission.
All right, we talking about complete, utter submission. It is like one of the ultimate forms of humbling yourself, because you're making yourself low as you possibly can go.
Totally vulnerable.
And totally vulnerable, being completely, in a sense, exposed. Because you don't know what's going on in the world around you, behind you, at that point, because you're only focused on completely submitting to the Most High. There's nothing wrong with that, right? We talked about singing, right? Singing out to the Most High. Is there anything wrong with that? Why do we sing? Okay, we give praise. Why else do we sing? All right, Shell said to welcome him in. Okay. Say that again. Okay, so who was the first woman in script we see singing? Miriam. And what was she singing? All right, thank you. She was singing Moshe's song. Okay, so it actually says that she joined in with him singing. What were they singing? Huh? Say it again, Aaliyah.
About what had just happened.
They sung what just happened. What just happened?
They got rid of Pharaoh. Pharaoh got drowned.
So they was on this side of the Red Sea,
Got delivered.
and the Most High parted it. Now, you can assume he parted it in half. You can assume that he parted it multiple ways. If I say, hey, I'm coming to your house to do your hair. When I get there, have your hair parted. It won't be in two. It'll be in multiple parts. So the reason why I'm saying that is the scripture isn't dogmatic in expressing what this part looked like. But don't be so naive to assume that it was just one, because it could have been multiple. It could have been 12 parts, one for each like, we don't know, right? So Hollywood has done an amazing job of making the water come up on each side, but if he parted it 12 ways, or really like 24 ways, then it would be water on each side for everybody. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm not telling you that's what happened. I'm saying consider that. That's all I'm saying. Just consider that. So he parts it. They walk over on what kind of ground?
Dry.
Dry ground. Not muddy ground, dry ground.
Dry.
They get to the other side, and what happens?
Water goes in on
But before the water collapses,
and look back.
they're stared up. The people from Egypt are stared up to pursue them even after seeing this miracle, right? So what happens? They chase them, and the Most High uses the very thing he used to save Israel to take out their enemies, which is a phenomenon in and of itself, right? And when they look back at what the Most High has done, it says that they saw the Egyptians dead. Horses, chair, everything just gone. And Moshe begins to sing this song, right? And Miriam chimes in. So what were they singing about? They were singing about what Yah just did. Now, why is that significant? Say it. Okay. It's significant because you all are programmed to remember music lyrics even when you don't want to. I say you all, we all are programmed. We remember music like it ain't nothing, right? Even when you don't want to. And like comedians make jokes about it. They say, you know, if you walk up to a child and you ask them to say their ABCs, they usually can't say it without throwing the jingle. A, B, C, D, E. No, just say them. G, H, I. So what I'm saying is we are able to commit to things in memory through song, right? Also, when you are faced in a moment of fear, adversity, whatever, you can recall the song and remember what the Most High has done. And then that, in and of itself, you are reteaching, reprogramming yourself what to do about what you're scared of in this situation. So that is extremely significant. And then we talked about dancing. According to the script, is there anything wrong with dancing before the Most High? No, there's not. Now that doesn't mean that we take from the world and then try to reapply it to the Most High. That's not what that means. That's not what that, because if you don't know where some of these dances come from, you could be disrespecting the Most High and trying to, what did he say? Bringing me what you brought to the Elohim. Right. So there's a freedom in dancing or expressing yourself through dance before the Most High. But then there should also be a reverence and respect. That's right. Right? So we don't have a twerk team for Yeshua. No. Right? Don't exist. And if you found it, run away. Right? Run far, far away. So we talked about lifting our hands, singing, dancing, laying prostrate, kneeling, standing in reverence for the Most High. Something else that we looked at in the script. What else? Lifting up your head. Why is that significant? All right, so you're looking with expectation that the Most High got you. Now we typically are indoors, so when we look up, we see the ceiling tops, and we don't expect someone to come through the tiles like some Navy SEALs. But our people were predominantly outdoors people, right? And so looking up, especially when you look at terrain, look at hills, you might be surrounded by an enemy, but your help is coming from beyond that, right? From the beyond. So lifting up your head, singing out to the Most High is also a form of worship. So what we have seen is a steady progression of doing obeisance or submission or kneeling down, standing, lifting up our hands. Did anybody find anywhere where just sitting is a form of worship? I'm not saying it's not in there. I'm saying just did anybody find it? Okay, so we got singing, we got lifting our hands, we got dancing, we got all these things. All right, shouting was another one. Lifting up your voice like a trumpet. Crying out, lamenting, right?
Hey, John, I can give you what I got.
Okay.
So first, I just want to say that was the one that my group was responsible for. I was out sick last Shabbat, and I did start it. I just didn't complete the study. So there's two different words for cry. I only have one word, and that's za'ak, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's H2201, and that's the word for cry. And the modern, you know, you have the etymological root, and then you have like the modern definition. The modern definition is a streak of outcry or crying, right? Just literal crying. But the etymological root says it's a mattock, and that's similar to like a pickaxe. Kind of.
So, understand the picture, right? I'm obviously bigger, faster, and stronger than you. Obviously, right? Obviously. But when he cried out to his father is bigger. Now, I don't know about faster. I'll probably give him a little bit on the strength side. Yeah, he's a little stronger than me. Got it. So his cry out was ultimately stronger than me, because when his help comes, like that's it. So his crying out is a weapon, because if he doesn't cry out, what's he gonna do? He's gonna get beat up, right? Maybe he might make it home. Maybe he might not. He might wind up in the trunk of somebody's SUV. Who knows, right? Because y'all like to hide in that shit. Thank you, I appreciate it. He was scared, see? No, but the point, yes ma'am.
I just wanted to ask you, were talking about sitting and worshiping. In Revelations, the 11th chapter, 16th verse.
Yes ma'am.
It says, and the 4 and 20 elders which sat before God on their seats fell upon their faces and worshiped God. And then in the Luke, the 14th chapter,
Yes, ma'am.
it said, but when thou art bidden, go and sit down in the lowest room, that when he that bade thee cometh, he may say unto thee, friend, go up higher, then shalt thou have worship in the presence of them that sit at meat with you.
So what is that about? So the elders, let's start at Revelation, the first one you brought out.
The first one was
So the elders are sitting before the throne, and then they fall upon their face before the Most High. So they're sitting in wait, and then they go right into worship. So the sitting wasn't the worship. The sitting was the waiting. And when the presence comes, they act on the wait by worshiping. And then the one you brought out in Luke, what's the context? No, I'm saying read up. Like yes, the verses before. Because there's significance to that, what you just brought out.
What verse? Revelation.
11, 20, 11. Oh, what, Luke?
Luke.
Lucas,
Luke is 11.
Nah, it's not 11.
14 and 10.
14, yeah.
Talking about healing on the Sabbath.
okay?
Sure.
So go up to the beginning of that particular passage and what it's talking about and read. Somebody.
And it came to pass as he went into the house of one of the chief Pharisees.
Okay, wait. So what we see is, we see Yeshua walking into a house, right, where one of the chief Pharisees are. Okay? So let's identify where he's at. He's not in the temple. He's not in the tabernacle. He's in somebody's house. Okay, go ahead.
To eat bread on the Shabbat day.
Okay, so he's in the house for the purpose of eating, right? He came there to rest and to eat up. Go ahead.
That they watched him. And behold, there was a certain man before him which had the dropsy.
Okay.
And Yeshua answered, spake unto the lawyer and Pharisees, saying, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath day? And they held their peace, and he took him and healed him and let him go. And answered him, saying, which of you shall have an ass or an ox fallen into a pit, and will not straightway pull him out on the Sabbath day? And they could not answer him again to these things. And he put forth a parable to those which were bidden, when he marked how they chose out of the chief's room, saying unto them, when thou hast bidden of any man to a wedding, sit not down in the highest room,
In the chief seat, right.
lest a more honorable man than thou be bidden of him.
To sit in the lower seat.
And he that bade thee, and him
that called you.
and him come and say to thee, give this man place.
Okay, wait. So it's a picture of a wedding, right? He comes in, somebody walks in, and they like, man, this is like one of the best seats in the house. I'm fitted. I got my nice little outfit on. Man, this is nice. It's a nice wedding. It's a nice setup. And then somebody more honorable than myself comes, but I've already made myself sitting in the chief seat, right? Tried to esteem myself of importance that I ought not to. And so now what happens? Now the guy that is either getting married or is orchestrating the officiating the whole ceremony has to come and tell you to get up, right? Because there's somebody more honorable that should have been in that seat in the first place.
Okay. And thou began with shame to take the lowest room.
So now you got to get up and put yourself, you got to humble yourself because you thought that you was all high and mighty sitting in the best seat. And really you should have humbled yourself to a lower seat. It's not about sitting, standing, kneeling. It's about humility versus pride. Because you walked in with pride and put yourself in a position that you ought not be in. And then the Most High, or in this instance, the parable, the situation is somebody has to come and now humble you. When if you would have just humbled yourself and sat in the lower seat, right, then if there was no one else that came to fulfill that seat, then he would have came and he would have put you in that seat. Does that make sense? And so this is why it's important, context, but it's also important, bring up what you see so we can discuss it, right? So I said all of that to say we're about to enter into a time of prayer. So if you see people kneeling, if you see people praying with their hands up, if you see people or hear people lifting up their voice,
Shouting.
don't be alarmed. We are just now applying what we learned. And then when we go into song, don't be alarmed if you see somebody over there, you know, back in my day, you know. Don't be alarmed if you see that, because they're now applying, right, what they learned. Or shall I say, we are now applying what we learned. So don't be alarmed when you hear the music. Don't be alarmed if the person next to you singing and, you know, they sound like they singing in a tin can with two notes that belong over there. It's a joyful noise, right?
That's right.
That's the point of what I'm saying. But I'm also beckoning you. If you feel restrained, like, break yourself free from the minutia or the nuance of just sitting there. Cry out to the Most High. Worship Him. Because now is the time when the true worshipers will worship Him in both spirit and in truth. So we're studying out the truth portion, right? And now the evidence of having the Ruach will be in how you display that worship. Now, that doesn't mean, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about it, that doesn't mean that when you come here and you stand and you clap and that's it, that's worship. No, that is a corporate expression of something that should be played out in your life. Remember, worship stems from obedience. So, if you come here and you can sing the best, play the best instrument, and cut the best rug, and you were completely disrespectful at home to your parents, right? If you constantly calling up your more, cussing them out. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. But, no, I'm serious. If you are constantly putting your brethren down, right? Tearing down the house.
Yeah.
And you come in here thinking that you singing and stuff, or you dancing, or that, you know, you doing the sound, or you doing this, or you doing that, and you thinking that you're doing a service to the Most High.
In vain.
I'm here to tell you it's all in vain.
In vain.
So, humble yourself in your lifestyle, period, point blank, so that when we come together and we do worship, it is in truth.
Yes.
And it's not something that's fake or programmed to do or to say. So with that being said, you all know the prayer requests that you all have. I'm going to say just take them before the Most High. For those that pray toward the land, as it talks about in 2 Chronicles chapter 7, the land is that way. But you can pray however, which way you would like to pray. That's up to you. That's not a mandate. That was just something an agreement that Solomon tried to make with the Most High. And by saying, hey, if your people who are called by your name will humble themselves and pray, seek your face, turn from the wicked ways. But prior to that, he identified turning toward this land, this particular place, that the Most High would hear them and act on their behalf. So with that being said, we're just going to go ahead and enter a time of prayer. However, whatever that looks like to you. Hallelujah. Like your first time, this is more so the flow of how we do Shabbat. For the past month, we took a literal break from how we normally conduct Shabbat for the purpose of understanding what worship is so that we could apply it correctly. So that we weren't just going through the motions and someone walked in the door and asked, hey, why do you stand? And nobody really be able to give an answer, well, because whatever. Or why do people lift their hands? And nobody really be able to give an answer. Or why are they goofing off over here dancing? And no one be able to give an answer. Well, now you know they weren't goofing off. They were dancing because that's what the scripture tells us to do. Yo, that was That was tight, man. Man, you want to get off the keyboard? Right? Yeah, that was smooth. Or why do some people cry out? Or why do some people lift up their voice like the sound of a trumpet, like with the shout? Well, now we know in a fuller context that essentially all of that points back to this word that starts with an O and ends in ants. And that word is? Wait, I heard somebody over here. That word is what? Obedience. Say it one more time. Obedience. Okay, we're going to say it one more time from this side. Obedience. 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 So that's why we do it, because ultimately it points back to obedience, right? And so if the Most High, if His Spirit puts it on you, right, to stand and clap or to cry out, and you choose not to for the sake of pride, for the sake of what somebody else is going to think or whatever, then just understand that's disobedience. And you're like, it has no effect on anybody else. You don't know that. It could be for someone else, because the things that the Most High has put in you are not for you. They are for the body, the mishpachah, right? And so my pinky finger has no point at, like, it benefits me not at all if it is never used in tandem with my whole hand, right? And so that's kind of how we have to think of things, right? What the Most High has given us is for us to share amongst the body. I play this instrument over here. I could do that at home by myself. I don't have to come here and play it, period, point blank. But the Most High didn't give it to me for me at home. He gave it to me for the benefit of the assembly, of the body at large, right? If He gave you a voice to sing, it's not for you to do at home in the shower. It's for you to be able to bless or to baruch the mishpachah, the family. So prior to this study on worship, we were reading through or studying through Bereshyt or Genesis. And we left off on chapter 8. What was chapter 8 about? And if we got to go back and read it, we will. It's not a problem.
Flood.
Say it again.
The flood.
The flood. All right, elaborate.
So Noah building the ark, and then he. Hold on, my phone said heard the flood and it started talking.
Got it.
So but him and Noah building the ark, his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives were the only people that were saved in that flood.
Okay, were the only people saved through the flood. So, were there people on the outside of the ark?
Yes.
Got it. Were there animals on the outside of the ark?
Yes.
Were there animals that were some selected and some not selected, but they the same animal?
Yes. Yes. And some even had a further purpose depending on what was the reason.
Got it. So, how many sets of clean animals went into the ark? 7 sets? Right. So, let me ask you like this. Did 7 sheep come on the ark, or did 14 sheep come on the ark?
14.
You sure?
There's 2 and 2.
If they came on in pairs, right? Is that what you're alluding to? A male and female, and they came in 7s, the clean animal. Was it 14 or was it 7?
14.
I think it just said 7.
What does it say?
Well, I'm trying to find. I think it just said 7 clean.
Chapter 7.
Chapter 7. We're going to learn about the 7.
On the second verse.
On the verse number 2. Read it for us. Somebody read it real loud.
Go ahead, you got it.
Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by 7s, the male and his female, and of the beasts that are not clean by 2.
All right, so let me ask you a question. Is 7 an even number or is 7 an odd number? Odd. So how many males of the clean animals went on the ark?
7.
Well, wait a minute.
Probably like 1.
If it's only 7 of them going on the ark, is it 3 male, 4 females, 4 female, 3 male?
Probably 3 male, 4 female. Yeah.
It's a pair. So how many clean animals went on the ark?
14.
14 of a kind, not 7. Or is it 7?
7 pairs.
Male and female. Of the unclean animals, how many went on? 2. Which were what?
Male and female.
Okay, so now we know that the pattern is there will be a male and there will be a female, right? That's a set. That's going on the ark. So if he says bring me 7 of the clean animals, that would mean that boom, 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 boom. Right? Or am I wrong? Am I understanding that right or am I understanding that wrong?
Right.
I'm repeating what you're telling me. So either we all got it right or we all got it wrong.
We're right.
You say y'all are right. Y'all are saying it was how many? 14. Anybody say 7? Just 7. 7. Well, we have pairs on the table back there. You want 7? That would be. Got it. So 7. We're saying 7 sets went on the ark of the clean animals.
A pair is a male and female.
A pair is a male and a
A pair
female.
of shoes is the left and right.
All right, a pair of shoes is the left and right. 1 pair of shoes is 2 shoes. I like it. I'm gonna make it simple. All right, so according to Jubilees and Jasher, so because the way I've always understood the story was animals went on the ark. If you didn't get to make it to the ark, you just went back home, right? That's how the story is always told to us in church and you know, songs about Noah and the animals. But what do we study, or what was revealed looking at it from the perspective of the writers of Jubilees and Joshua in relation to the animals?
The animals stayed there and guarded the ark.
Say that again.
They protected it, they guarded it.
All right. So the Most High used the animals that came that didn't make it on the ark for the purpose of protecting the ark from who?
The people, because get on later.
Let me tell you something. If I told y'all that if you make it out that door, you get $1 million, and y'all look at me like, whatever, right? And I say the evidence of that will be a chrome Lamborghini that drives by. And he goes, hey, there's a chrome Lamborghini driving by. All of a sudden, many of you, maybe not all of you, are going to beeline straight for that door to get through the door, right? My point is, if Noah said, this is an ark for the purpose of preserving us from a flood, and they're saying, we ain't so much as seen a drop of water fall from the sky, and they get on the boat, and then a drop happens? Like, hey, you feel that, man? Quit talking, you spitting on me. Like, I didn't say anything. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Drops keep dropping. Oh, snap, he was right. We could tear this door down. We could get on this boat, right? And so, but what did the Most High do? According to these writers, he put the animals around the ark for the purpose of protecting the ark from the very people that the Most High was going to destroy. That's crazy. Imagine if you had a hand in helping build the ark, but you just didn't want to get on it. Yeah, this crazy guy, he said this thing about this ark. I ain't gonna get on it, but I'm gonna help him build it because I just want to see what happens. And now you on the outside of it. You might try to use that as hey yo, I helped you build this. You better let me on, right? I'm like you too. You ain't no better than me.
You got plenty of room.
You got plenty of room. Open the door, right? That's what I would be trying everything I can do to get on. There's a window with a rope. I'm getting on this ark, right? But now we know that the Most High took that into account. To preserve his people, he used the very thing that he was going to destroy to save their life. That's deep. That's real deep. Because we talked about earlier, the Red Sea parting, right? Whatever that means, whether it was multiple or whether it was one. The very thing that he used to save them, he used to destroy their enemies. So, in chapter 8, what happens of Bereshyt?
It's talking about the subsiding of the rains
Okay.
and the closing of the windows of the heavens.
All right.
And, it goes through the cycle of Noah sending the dove out and the dove
Okay.
coming back, and finally the dove comes back with the olive.
So he sends a raven.
A raven, yes.
First. The first time, if I recall correctly, the raven comes back. The second time he sends a raven out, the raven does not come back. Then he sends the dove, and the dove comes back with an olive branch. Right? Then he waits a longer length of time, and then he opens the door to the ark. Something else I thought was ironic was that the Most High shut the door. The Most High shut them into the ark, but Noah was able to open the door to be released from the ark. Something that somebody else pointed out was like, could you imagine the smell of the animals in the ark? Right? But notice how he made them put this substance on the outside of the ark and on the inside of the ark. And I'm wondering if maybe this pitch was to help mask the smell, in addition to help with the buoyancy and to make the ark leak-proof. So just different things to consider, like about this ark. Then we jump into chapter 9. So that's where actually we left off on, was chapter 9. So here we go. How many verses in chapter 9?
29.
All right. Someone who could read very, very loudly with a moderate pace, please do so. Chapter 9.
I'll read it.
Okay. Hit it, Carlton. You got
I
it?
don't know if it'll be moderate. It might get kind of slow at times.
Hey, we'll let you know.
Okay, all right.
We'll all scream, speed up, or stone.
No, I'm going to be reading out of the Septuagint.
Okay. So pay attention, because some of you who are reading out of like the King James or the ESV or the Sefer, like your version might read a little bit different, but he's reading out of the Septuagint.
And Yah blessed Noah and his sons, and said to them, increase and multiply, and fill the earth, and have dominion over it. And the dread and the fear of you shall be upon all the wild beasts of the earth, on all birds of the sky, and all things moving upon the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea. I have placed them under your power. And every reptile which is living shall be to you for meat. I have given all things to you as the green herbs, but flesh with blood of life you shall not eat. For your blood of your lives I will require at the hand of all wild beasts, and I will require the life of man at the hand of his brother man. He that sheds man's blood, instead of that blood shall his own be shed. For in the image of Yah I made man. But do you increase and multiply and fill the earth and have dominion over it. And Yah spoke to Noah and his sons with him, saying, and behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you, and with every living creature with you, of birds and of beasts, and with all the wild beasts of the earth, as many as are with you, of all that come out of the ark. And I will establish my covenant with you, and all flesh shall not any more die by the water of the flood. And there shall be and there shall no more be a flood of water to destroy all the earth. And Yahuwah said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant which I set between me and you, and between every living creature which is with you for perpetual generations. I set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a sign of covenant between me and the earth. And it shall be when I gather clouds upon the earth, that my bow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you, and between every living soul
in all flesh, and there shall no longer be water for a deluge, so as to blot out all flesh. And my bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look to remember the everlasting covenant between me and the earth, and between every living soul in all flesh which is upon the earth. And God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant which I have made between me and all flesh which is upon the earth. Now, the sons of Noah which came out of the ark were Sem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ham was the father of Canaan. These three are the sons of Noah. Of these were men scattered all over the earth. And Noah began to be a husbandman, and he planted a vineyard, and he drank of the wine, and was drunk, and was naked in his house. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and he went out and told his two brothers without. And Sem and Japheth, having taken a garment, put it on both their backs, and went backwards, and covered the nakedness of their father, and their face was backwards, and they saw not the nakedness of their father. And Noah recovered from the wine, and knew all that his younger son had done to him. And he said, cursed servant Canaan, a slave shall he be to his brethren. And he said, blessed be Yahuwah of Sem and Canaan, shall be his bondservant. May God make room for Japheth, and let him dwell in the habitations of Sem, and let Canaan be his servant. And Noah lived after the flood 350 years. And all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died.
All right. Hey, Todar Rabah, thank you for reading that. So, there's a few things that, just a few, that I kind of wanted to look at that I pulled from this. But by all means, if there's something else that you got or that you've been studying or that, feel free to bring it out. And so, as you notice up here, I have tokens, signs, and oaths. And so, sometimes how we apply these words are very, very, very interchangeable, but how they are applied in the script are not necessarily so interchangeable. And oftentimes a covenant was made by blood, right? But a vow is just something that was spoken. And so in today's time, you can hear someone use the word vow and the word covenant interchangeably, whereas in the script, a father or husband could disannul a vow from his daughter or wife in the day that he heard it, he had that day in order to say, yo, no. So, for example, if my daughter, if I came home, she'd have been like, hey, Dad, I made a vow, I'm gonna be fasting the next few days. She may not know that I may have had some plans. I could say, no, like not right now. But I tell you what, let's look at something according to the Torah. How about we plan to do it on this day, and I'll actually do it with you. I could do that. Whereas when someone made a covenant with someone, that's a little different than just speaking a vow. The Most High didn't send our people into captivity because we broke a vow. He sent our people in captivity because we broke the covenant.
That's right.
Right? Understand that. Because we broke the covenant. So vows are typically, they have a parameter span. Like somebody might take a Nazarite vow, right? But that had typically an expiration. When someone was done fulfilling that, they would shave their head and offer a certain animal to be offered up. It reminds me of me when I was little, right? But then we also have signs. There were things that the Most High did specifically for the purpose of it being a sign, right? And then other things were oaths that, or vows that a person would make. And so there's a few things to consider when reading chapter number 9. One of those things that I saw readily was when they came off the ark, the Most High gave them some instructions. But I looked at the instructions and it kept dawning on me like, this sounds very familiar. So I went back to the beginning of the book, which was only a few chapters, and I thought about, wait a minute. Before the flood in Bereshyt chapter 1, verses 22 through 25, the Most High says, be fruitful and multiply, fill the waters and the earth. And then he says, have dominion over all the creatures. And then he says, of every tree is good for food except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So, COGAE was my little acronym, right? To remember knowledge of good and evil. And in the day that you eat of that particular tree, you would what? You would die. And then in chapter 4, there was actually an offering that was offered. So now we're in chapters number 9, and when they come off the ark, what does the Most High tell them? Be fruitful and multiply, replenish the earth. He also says, fear and dread of you will be upon every beast, fowl, and those that move upon the earth and fishes. Well, that would be, that's very similar to having dominion over something. Right? If Naruto was scared of me and I was like, Naruto, get up, you in my seat. What would Naruto do? Naruto would get up, right? Because it's my But right, he might. Oh, so, but that speaks to having dominion over these creatures. Now, before, I don't know that fear existed, or shall I say, I don't know that fear was applied in the beginning of creation, because everything was perfect, in balance, and in order, right? And so, all Adam, right, let's say in this instance, would have had to do with speak to the animals, and they would have done it. It didn't require fear, dread, but there was an understanding of order. And now coming out of the ark, well, now you see a dominance, but this time it's a respect because they understand that there could be consequences in the disobedience. That's typically where fear and dread come from. The realization that if I don't do something you're telling me to do, you might do something else that is faster than I can run, right? Then he says, everything that lives will be meat for you, even as the green herb. Now, I find that interesting, because in the garden, it was only, they could eat of all the green herbs except for the tree. But coming out of the ark, they could eat of not just all the green herb, but also meat. It was actually instruction. Now, he wasn't saying you have to, but he says, this is for the purpose now of food for you, except you don't eat it when it has blood in it. Now, I just thought that was interesting. And then the very last thing that happens is they offer an offering, a sacrifice. So my question to you is, if there was no written instruction, allegedly, how did they know in both of these instances how to do an offering? We're in the very first book. We're only a few chapters in. How did they know how to do sacrifices? For the home. Right? That we are supposed to be children of the covenant, right? And we're also supposed to be children of the seed. And when you bring those two under one umbrella, you bring the children of the covenant and the children of the seed, you bring the seed to the covenant, and you raise them up in that, under the umbrella of marriage. So that's interesting that we see that, because some of the people that you may talk to may say things like, well, back then, you know, they just figured it out. Well, the reality is that things were passed down. The Most High spoke and things were done. The very first illustration we have of the Most High doing any type of sacrificing of any type is when he covered Adam and Chawah. He didn't use the fruit of the ground like they tried to use. He took the life of an animal and covered them. Anybody wanted to have anything that they wanted to say in relation to these two? Okay. So the process. If we go back to Bereshyt chapter 1, let's do that. Let's do that. Because let's test this. Because if it's wrong, then it's wrong. So let's consider the process of creation. Right, so somebody start reading for me Bereshyt chapter 1, starting at verse 1.
In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep.
Okay, wait, stop right there. So, when it says that darkness was upon the face of the deep, what is the deep? So we're presuming that the deep is waters. Okay, right? Is that what I'm understanding? I see some heads nodding. Is that so? Okay. So, based off of what y'all are saying, not what I'm saying, but what y'all are saying that in the beginning there was water and darkness. Correct?
Yeah.
All right, interesting.
And the Ruach Elohim moved upon the face of the waters.
Okay.
And Elohim said, let there be light.
Okay. So we have water, darkness, then light. Go ahead.
And there was light. And Elohim saw the light that it was good. And Elohim divided the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day. And the darkness he called night.
Okay, keep going.
And the evening and the morning were the first day.
Okay, keep going.
And Elohim said, let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters.
Okay.
And let it divide the waters from the waters.
Okay.
And
wait, the expanse is what?
Firmament.
All right, some type of land, right? So then he makes land appear. Okay, continue.
And Elohim made the expanse and divided the waters, which were under the expanse from the waters,
okay,
which were above the expanse.
Okay.
And it was so. And Elohim called the expanse Shamahim, or heaven.
Right.
And the evening and the morning were the second day.
Okay.
And Elohim said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And Elohim called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind.
Okay, so once we identified the expanse and then that there's actual literal land, then he provides substance to be consumed. Because in the garden, what did they consume? The trees from the ground, the herbs. Okay. Then what?
Whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was so. And the earth brought forth grass,
okay,
and herb yielding seed after his kind,
okay,
and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was itself after his kind.
Okay.
And Elohim saw that it was good.
Right.
And the evening and the morning were the third day.
Third day. So then the fourth day comes, and what does he create?
And Elohim said, let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for appointed feasts and for days and years.
Okay.
And let them be for lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light upon the earth.
Okay.
And it was so. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night.
Yep.
He made the stars also. And Elohim set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness.
Got it.
And Elohim saw that it was good.
Right.
And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. And Elohim said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that has life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open expanse of heaven. And Elohim created great sea monsters.
So there was water and darkness, and then he reveals light, right? On a more generic sense. He reveals light. Then he makes land. Then he puts substance on the land that for the purpose of consuming, but there's nothing on the earth to consume it yet. Then he makes creatures to consume the very thing that he just created. Okay? Go ahead.
And Elohim created great sea monsters and every living creature that moves, which the waters brought forth abundantly, after their kind.
Right.
And every winged fowl after his kind.
Yep.
And Elohim saw that it was good.
Yep.
And Elohim blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply.
So then he gave instructions.
And the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning were the 5th day.
Okay.
And Elohim said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind.
Okay.
Cattle and creeping things, and beasts of the earth after his kind. And it was so. And Elohim made the beasts of the earth after his kind, cattle after their kind,
okay,
and everything that creeps upon the earth after his kind.
So he establishes the law. Everything is going to create after its own kind. Got it. Then what happened?
And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, let us make man in our image,
okay,
after our likeness,
okay,
and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. So Elohim created man in his own image.
Okay.
In the image of Elohim created he him, male and female created he them.
Right.
And Elohim blessed them, and Elohim said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over everything that moves upon the earth.
So he establishes his law. Okay, keep going.
And Elohim said, behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for food, and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creeps upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every herb for food. And it was so. And Elohim saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good.
Okay.
And the evening and the morning was the 6th day.
Okay.
Keep going. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the hosts of them. And on the 7th day, Elohim ended his work which he had made. And he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had made. And Elohim blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which Elohim created and made.
Okay, so I would venture to say, some may disagree, that's the first covenant we see, the Shabbat. So let me get this straight. As I understand it, with everything that you just read, generically, there was water and darkness. Yah reveals light. He made land appear. He provided sustenance to consume. He brought forth creatures, and then he gave instructions. Then he established his law, and then he established the covenant. That's what we just read in Bereshyt 1, right? What if I told you that's what you just read in Bereshyt 9? Or shall I say, the story of Noah once they got on the ark. You see, once the waters came, there was no more land, and there was darkness. And then the Most High reveals the light, right? Now, how does he go about revealing the light? When the rain stopped. Then later he makes land appear. Remember, he sends out a raven. Raven comes back with nothing. Sends out a raven again. Raven doesn't come back. Sends out a dove. Dove comes back with the olive branch. So Noah now knows that land exists, trees exist, and that the waters are going away. Then he provides substance to consume. Once the waters finally recede, he opens the door. They come out of the ark. he brings forth the creatures. Now remember, he saved the creatures, but now they're coming out of the ark and he's bringing them forth. He gives instructions, he establishes his law, and then the covenant that he puts in the sky is the rainbow. So essentially, everything that he did, in a manner of speaking, in creation, he turned around and did, again, dealing with Noah. Something that I saw, and if anybody has anything they would like to speak on that or even refute, I'm perfectly okay with that. It's just what I saw when I read it. It took me immediately back to creation, as they're on the ark. There is no more land that they know of, which means that there are no trees, there are no plants, there's nothing but just darkness and water. And then we go through this process, and then the Most High, in the end, establishes his covenant, has a literal set-apart people, gives the law, the instructions, and then establishes the covenant by putting the rainbow in the clouds, so that they know that he will never do this again. That's a covenant he made with man. So when we look at a token, remember the rainbow was a what? It was a symbol. Now some of the versions that you read will speak of a token. But the word is actually oath when you look it up, which is really interesting. So you have the Aleph, the Wa, and the Tav. The Aleph being the strong leader, the Wa is what connects, and the Tav is like the mark to sign the covenant. So when you put it together, you have yourself, or being the strong leader, being secured to the covenant or becoming sealed to something or someone. So when the Most High puts this rainbow in the clouds, essentially the strength of the Most High is now connected to whoever he made this promise with. Now this promise went to the land, to the animals, and to man, that he would never destroy them this way again. That's interesting, because when we read about the destructions to come, we know what that's going to look like, and it won't be like this. And so ultimately, tokens or signs or oaths are very, very, very serious to Yah. So much so that there's a whole list of them. Here's just some examples. In relation to lights, he made a sign out of cane, a cayenne. And what did he put on him that would be a sign? Huh? He put a mark on him. What was the mark supposed to do? What was this sign supposed to do? I heard somebody say it. It was supposed to keep him from being killed by someone else. That's crazy. That the Most High marks you for life. Literally. Then the rainbow, we just read about that. Circumcision also was something that was designed to set people apart. That was a literal, physical covenant that he made between him and his people. Serving Yah on this mountain in Shemot chapter 3 and verse 12, which is very, very, very interesting. But we won't go there. Even the staff, leprosy was a sign. It was a sign of you being what? Unclean. Unclean. But oftentimes it was linked to disobedience. So much so that there are times in the New Testament where the disciples come upon people who are maimed, blind, and leprous, and they ask the question, who sinned, the mom or the dad? Because the mindset was the only way this injustice, quote unquote, could happen to a person is if they messed up royally in some way. Or shall I say their forefathers messed up, and this was the consequence of their forefathers' sin, which is deep in and of itself. Divisions, the Passover. What is Passover about? Okay, you said Passover lamb. What about it? Wait, so if I put the blood of this particular lamb on my doorpost, it would be a sign. To who?
No,
that. assigned to Yahuwah that you were what? Obedient. It all points back to obedience. Giving of the firstborn males was also a sign. It was something that was in the instructions that the Most High designed for a particular purpose, right? So other nations didn't do these things. They didn't have these experiences. But the Most High preserved all of these for a purpose. And that purpose was to remind a particular people who they were and what his word to them was. So that if they ever forgot some of these, if they ever forgot and came back, well, this would be part of the awakening process. The understanding of that the Most High keeps his word. And so it says, and Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this out is because this is a question that has been asked to me by a lot of different people. And what I want to do is just provide you maybe two ways of looking at it. Okay? So, and Noah awoke from his wine and knew. He understood that there was a finished work that led to something different by way of experience. You have the word yada and asa, what he had done. The ayin, the shin, and the hey. So this understanding or experience, it separates what you did, the revelation of what you did. I thought that was very, very interesting. And you're going to see this at the conclusion of the book, 924. So it says, and he knew what his younger son had done. What did his younger son do? Okay, what does that mean? That's the question that I have been asked over and over and over again. What does that mean? So, uncovering the nakedness or seeing the nakedness of his father. There are two schools of thought, at least that I know of, in relation to what this means. One of them is Wa'ikra 18, 6 and 8. So this comes later in the actual written law. And that is, none of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him to uncover their nakedness. I am Yahuwah. The nakedness of thy father or the nakedness of thy mother shalt thou not uncover. She is thy mother. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of your father's wife shalt thou not uncover. It is thy father's nakedness. So there are some that have a school of thought that being exposed to his father's wife is what he was actually, what it is he actually either saw or experienced. Wa'ikra 20 or Leviticus 20:11 says, and the man that lies with his father's wife hath uncovered his father's nakedness. Both of them shall surely be put to death, their blood shall be upon them. So this comes later. Again, we're in Bereshyt. So there are some that will say that, so what Cain or what Canaan did, excuse me, thank you. What he did was that he had some type of situation with Noah's wife. That is what some say. But it could just straight up mean that he literally saw the nakedness of his father and made mockery out of it. How could he have made mockery out of it?
It's dishonor.
By not covering something that should be covered. So by going back and being like, ha ha, yeah. Yo, little Pop's over there neck, look at him. He's got his butt cheeks out now, look at it. Well, instead of being like that, what did his older brothers do? They went and they covered him, right? So the reason why I'm bringing this out and the reason why I'm saying this to you is, again, there are two schools of thought, and there are some that's going to promote one way, and there are others that are going to promote a different way. But I just wanted to expose you to, these are both the schools of thought in relation to Bereshyt chapter 9. What's up, Mike? I saw your hand up.
No, I was.
Mike, go ahead.
If you fast forward from here back.
You gotta speak up. We got fancy stuff going.
If you fast forward from here back to that time, you look at the culture, right? And then if you fast forward back to our time, 21st century that we're in, we don't care about culture so much. It was a different culture. You know, it was a different time. So he probably did something because when you look at, he went and told his two brothers, so he was talking about what he saw. And they came in respectfully backwards and covered their father. Right? So it's, I mean, so I think it had to do with something that was cultural, that it was like Kodesh, you know, it's something that you weren't supposed to do, right? You weren't supposed to do that. So, because when Noah woke up, he was the one that pronounced the curse. It wasn't the Most High that did that, right? But the Most High honored him because of the culture. I mean, it was probably that strong.
You don't have to agree, but what's your perspective? I saw your hand.
When you're talking about uncovering the nakedness, you're dealing with honor and dishonor. You're dealing with honor and dishonor. If you and I are in a covenant, just as brothers, and I share with you a very painful, intimate time in my life. Say that I share with you, at one time I got a girl pregnant and I took her to have an abortion, so on and so forth. But I need for you to cover me. And then somehow...
What would that mean? You said I would need for you to cover me. What does that mean?
I need for you to hold me accountable and pray for my strength and my maturity, but keep it between you and us. Keep it between us two. All right?
Okay.
And somehow, through whatever circumstance, you decided during the Shabbat, say, well, let me tell you what I found out about Brother James. I would come back and say, why you uncover me like that? Why you left me out here feeling naked? Why would you uncover me like that? That's dishonor. I share something with you, and that's dishonor. So when you look at the culture, even though we may find our parents, keep in mind you have to honor your mother and father. Just because you find your mother and father in a situation that's outside of the ways of the Most High, doesn't mean that you go and announce it to the community. It's dishonor, and the Most High would judge you for that. So when he talks about uncover the nakedness, that means to reveal something to those that you shouldn't in regards to your mother and father. So I just kind of wanted, because there's nothing that you will research in Scripture to show you that that young man had a relationship with his mother. You can't find that in Scripture. And I've heard that argument in many camps, and I've looked, and I said, there's nowhere in Scripture to reveal this. But I know what uncover means. Uncover means to dishonor.
Yeah. So, Rick, was your hand up?
Yeah, I just want to add to that. I believe it's with the honor part, because if you go back to the relationship I mentioned earlier, Blaze, in our men's meeting about the father of the household and your children, that being the father of the household, but in our lives, that the Father, our Heavenly Father, we all have a Heavenly Father, right? So we must honor Him in all things we do. So at the same time, in the same on that vein, that there was a dishonoring of that. And in the Ten Commandments, we see where that comes out. He said, honor thy mother and thy father. So when you dishonor your mother and father in the earthly realm, you're also in a way dishonoring your Heavenly Father in the heavenly realm.
So I'm going to ask a question. And I'm kind of, in this moment, I'm in the middle on it. I'm not saying I stand on this side or I stand on this side. But if he had done the very thing that some would say he did in relation to sleeping with her, would that be dishonor? Would it still fit the description of everything that you just said. So then, in a sense, a person could go back to being right back in the middle on the issue of, well, what exactly did he, because you're saying he did this thing, and the evidence of that is how we understand culture, got it? But if we look at it from this perspective, well, they literally now fall one on top of the other. So it would it could literally be one side versus the other side of a coin in relation to perspective. Now, again, I'm not telling you one way is right over the other in relation to looking at it. What I am presenting to you is, here are the schools of thought in relation to how some people view this. And how they come to that conclusion is going back to the law that was written in relation to uncovering nakedness, and then this becoming the definition or the defining verses that now they go back to Genesis and go, okay, so this must be what he did. But that does not necessarily mean that's what happened. What's up, Elias? You got something? Go ahead, Carlton.
I didn't even raise my hand.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, is it...
Wait, you was going to say or he was going to say? Well, y'all was going to say, y'all going to say it together?
Well, no, I was just going to ask a question. He already passed him. He was raising his hand, so... But my question is it against Torah to see your father naked? Is it against Torah for your daughter or mother to see one another naked? That's what I'm trying to understand. If we're...
Well, I would resort probably to our cultural experts of when people would go and bathe. Would fathers take their sons with them to, and everybody kind of handle that, and then mom take daughters, and then they.
Which would lend itself back to it not being a literal nakedness, but an uncovering of something that was shared in common. You know, like the old folks used to say, your panties are showing, your underwear is showing.
That would be
showing your butt. You know, when you're doing something out of character, or when you're doing something that is not becoming, showing your butt.
They would say it a little different, but I see what you're saying. Yeah. It would sound more like showing yo. Some of y'all thought it right when I said it.
But you know, to look at it, because even when you look at this right here, this is cultural. This is
that's Torah.
It's Torah. But if you look into it, it's cultural, because you remember when I was growing up as a kid, and you just said something that was key to what I'm about to say, is mothers and older siblings would take a little girl and wash her, but she would in turn have the little girl watch her washing herself. That was cultural. That's how we did it when I was a kid growing up. And my father wouldn't expose himself to me, and I was there, right? That was respect.
Right.
That was part of our culture. The heathens don't necessarily live up to that, right?
That's a great point. That's a great point. So to see him like laying there naked, it would be a sign of shame. Like, let's cover him up for somebody else here. Right? So I just want to present to you both sides of the argument. Yes, sir.
So if we do the word study, light word study, I'm not going too deep.
Not going too deep?
It says literally or figuratively, right? To be literally naked or nude, and then it says figuratively to disgrace or to blemish. So the word can mean both. So now you have a word that's interchangeable. I don't have a position on either side either. But if you go to the etymological root, it's interesting that it says to make, it says causatively make, bare, to make empty, to leave destitute, to make naked. So now the etymological root gives you a different picture, not necessarily about only nudity, but again you're dealing with
being.
You said to make naked?
Yeah.
Yes. The etymological
to make
root.
destitute. So we know in the Torah that, well, with Reuben.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Wait a minute now. Reuben uncovers the nakedness of his father by doing what? And could he go back to her after that? So, why would that be super serious? Because coming out of the ark, if you're looking at it from that perspective, because the instructions were to do what? Be fruitful and multiply. And if he had just done this thing, we're assuming in this moment that that's what they're saying that he did. If he did that thing, then could Noah fulfill that continually beyond Shem, Ham, and Japheth? No, he couldn't. So the curse would be on him or his seed or whatever because of what he did to him. So the consequence would then become the very thing that he did. Does that make sense? So if you stopped, if you had an effect on me continuing to reproduce, I'm now going to affect your reproduction.
That's causing enough for a curse.
That sounds like a curse. Yes, sir.
But isn't that exactly what happened?
Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. That is, okay. So that is what begs the question of why or how some people validate this being the thing. So then the question then becomes, why did they just say it the way that they said it about Reuben? It had been something, right? I mean, you're looking at different rights. Somebody pointed out to me yesterday, like when we were talking about looking at Jubilees versus Jasher, like you have to consider that we're dealing with different writers, right? Different schools of thought on how they would explain something. And so when that person, when I was talking to him, as a matter of fact, last night, and they said that to me, I was just like, hey, you are absolutely right. But it was completely unrelated to this. But it definitely made me think about, you know, you got to consider